Your dog has a soft bed, maybe two. There's the couch, the rug, that suspiciously expensive orthopedic mat you bought after reading reviews at midnight. And yet, night after night, where do they choose to sleep? Not beside you, not in the center of the room, not in the warmest corner of the house, right by the door, curled up across the entrance like a furry little checkpoint. Most people see it and think the same thing. Maybe my dog likes the draft. Maybe they just picked a random spot. Maybe they want more space. But dogs rarely repeat a nighttime habit for no reason, and when your dog sleeps by the door, what they're doing is often much deeper than it looks, because that position can reveal something about instinct, attachment, territory, vigilance, and the strange ancient job your dog may still believe they have in your home. Let's start with the most boring explanation first, because yes, sometimes the simple answer is part of the story. Some dogs sleep by the door because it's cooler, heat rises, beds get warm, humans radiate warmth like oversized space heaters, and many dogs would genuinely prefer a slightly lower temperature when they sleep. That matters, especially for thick-coated breeds, larger dogs, and dogs who overheat easily. But temperature alone doesn't explain the pattern most owners notice, because plenty of dogs ignore cool, empty areas and choose one specific threshold over and over again: the bedroom door, the front door, the nursery door, the bathroom door, and not just any spot near it, the exact line where one space becomes another. That is where this stops being random comfort and starts becoming behavior. Dogs are highly sensitive to boundaries, not boundaries in the human legal sense. Obviously, they do not sit there drafting property maps in their heads, but they are deeply tuned to transitions, entry points, movement corridors, and areas where something could change quickly. In the wild, edges matter, openings matter, access points matter. Even in a domestic home, your dog's brain still notices where people enter, where sounds come from, where the social group moves, and where a possible threat would appear first. A doorway is not just a patch of floor. To a dog, it is a control point, a place where information flows. That's one reason sleeping by the door can be linked to vigilance, not fear necessarily, not even anxiety in every case, just vigilance. Your dog may be in rest mode, but not in total shutdown. Dogs do not sleep the way humans imagine they sleep. Even when they are deeply relaxed, part of their sensory system stays tuned to changes in the environment: a sound in the hallway, a shift in footsteps, the soft click of a latch. By placing themselves at the doorway, they may be choosing the position that gives them the earliest notice of anything entering or leaving the space. In other words, your dog may have quietly assigned themselves the night shift. And that sounds dramatic, but the emotional logic is surprisingly simple. Dogs have spent thousands of years living alongside humans in a role that was never purely decorative. Long before modern homes, they alerted, guarded, tracked movement, and stayed close to the group. Even dogs that have never worked a day in their life still carry pieces of that orientation. Many of them are not just attached to us, they are organized around us. They watch, they follow, they position themselves, they monitor changes. So when your dog sleeps by the door at night, one possibility is that they are doing something instinctive and ancient, placing themselves between their people and the place where uncertainty begins. This is why the specific door matters. If your dog sleeps by the bedroom door while you are inside, that often means something very different from sleeping by the front door when everyone is downstairs. Context changes the meaning. A dog at the bedroom door may be guarding the resting group. A dog at the front door may be orienting toward the outside world, waiting for the first signal of change. A dog at a child's room may be showing protective attachment to a particular member of the household. Dogs are not abstract thinkers, but they are pattern machines. They learn what each place means, who usually appears there, what sounds precede activity, and which spaces feel socially important. Their sleep position reflects that. There is also a territorial piece to this. People hear the word territorial and immediately imagine aggression, barking, lunging, some kind of dramatic security response. But territory in dogs is often quieter than that. It can simply mean awareness of the home as a meaningful space and a tendency to monitor access to it. Sleeping at the door can be the canine version of keeping one eye on the perimeter. Not because your dog expects an intruder every night, but because the doorway is where inside meets outside, where familiar becomes unfamiliar. For a bonded dog, that boundary matters even more when the family is asleep. The group is less active, less responsive, more vulnerable. So the dog's instinct may gently shift toward watchfulness, but here's where it gets more emotional. Sometimes your dog is not sleeping by the door to protect the room from the world. Sometimes they are sleeping by the door to protect their access to you. That sounds subtle, but it matters. Dogs with strong attachment bonds often care deeply about knowing where their person is and whether that person might move. A doorway is the perfect observation point. From there, your dog can keep track of the room, the hallway, and the possibility of you getting up. They don't have to be pressed against you to stay connected. They just have to be positioned where they won't lose the thread of your movement. In that sense, the doorway becomes less of a guard post and more of an attachment post. This is why some dogs who do not like cuddling still insist on sleeping near doors. Owners sometimes misunderstand that and think, my dog doesn't really want closeness, but physical contact and attachment are not the same thing. Some dogs regulate through body contact. Others regulate through visual access, scent access, or strategic positioning. Your dog may not want to sleep on your bed, but they may absolutely want to sleep where they can monitor the space that connects you to the rest of the house. That is still closeness. It is just expressed in a more canine way. There's another layer too, and it has to do with control over information. Dogs relax best when their environment feels predictable. One of the fastest ways to make an environment feel predictable is to position yourself where surprises are reduced. If you are at the door, fewer things can happen behind you without warning. The room is mostly known. The entry point is visible. The sounds are easier to sort. For some dogs, especially observant, intelligent, or sensitive ones, sleeping by the door is the easiest way to rest without fully surrendering awareness. It lets them relax while still feeling informed. That does not automatically mean stress. This is important. A lot of owners hear any explanation involving vigilance and assume something must be wrong. Not necessarily. Many dogs simply enjoy having a job, even a tiny imaginary one. The behavior becomes part instinct, part routine, part personal preference. Just like one dog likes the couch arm and another likes the tile, some dogs genuinely settle best when they feel they are covering the entrance. If their body is loose, their sleep is normal, and they are otherwise relaxed, the doorway may simply be where their nervous system feels most satisfied. At the same time, sometimes sleeping by the door can reflect a different emotional state. In some dogs, especially those who are anxious, noise sensitive, or hyper alert, door sleeping may be part of a pattern of environmental monitoring. If your dog startles easily, gets up often, seems unable to settle deeply, or constantly reacts to hallway sounds, then the doorway may not just be a preferred spot. It may be the place they choose because they feel responsible for detecting every little change. That is less about calm protection and more about burdened vigilance. The position looks the same, but the emotional experience behind it is different. So how do you tell the difference? Watch the rest of the picture. A relaxed dog sleeping by the door usually has soft posture, easy breathing, normal daily behavior, and the ability to nap elsewhere too. An anxious dog often shows the same pattern in many contexts: scanning, overreacting to noise, difficulty settling, following you excessively, or waking at the smallest shift. The location alone is not the diagnosis. The pattern around it is. There's one more reason dogs choose doors, and it's one owners often miss: scent. Doorways are traffic zones. Everyone passes through them. Air moves through them. They collect traces of the household and the outside world at the same time. To a species that experiences life through smell far more powerfully than we do, that makes doorways rich informational spaces. Your dog may sleep there partly because it is where the home feels most legible. It smells like everyone. It smells like movement. It smells like what already happened and what might happen next. That may be strangely comforting. And if your dog suddenly stops sleeping by the door after doing it for months or years, pay attention. Dogs are creatures of habit, especially around rest. A meaningful sleep location change can signal pain, mobility issues, temperature discomfort, household changes, or emotional shifts. If a dog who always chose the doorway now avoids it, something in the environment or in their body may have changed. Maybe the floor hurts. Maybe they are colder than before. Maybe they feel safer closer to you. Maybe they no longer have the energy to maintain the position they once preferred. The disappearance of the habit can matter just as much as the habit itself. So, the next time you see your dog curled across the threshold, don't assume they just picked a random patch of floor. What you may be looking at is a mix of instinct, attachment, territorial awareness, sensory strategy, and ancient partnership playing out in one very ordinary scene. Your dog may not be thinking in words, but the behavior still says something clear. This space matters, you matter, and while the house sleeps, I'll take the edge.